Okay, in defense of the Nikki Bella breaking AJ's reign, you know, lots of people have been commenting, as well as trying to defend a lot of the failure that's existed in the Divas Revolution. A lot of people have been saying that the face and heel dichotomy do not matter in the world of professional wrestling. And if you have significant amounts of character development with enough nuances, you can actually get away from that for the most part. But you still have a good guy and a bad guy. You know, you still have the person you agree with, the person you don't agree with. That's kind of how wrestling works. You have the guy who's going to cheat. He's going to do whatever it takes to win. He's going to break the rules. You have the guy who's going to follow the rules. Very infrequently, you have two people in a match that are going to cheat. Very often, you might have two people in a match who both adhere to the rules. I've read other people who said, well, there's an anti-hero. Yes, and anti-heroes tend to fight heroes or villains. So you have black, you have white, and then you have the gray. But it's anti-hero. So hero still exists. They're just the hero with the edge. They're the hero who break the rules, who bend the rules. But they don't do it all the time. If they were to, they would be a villain. Using comic book terminology is very simple. Batman, hero. Joker, villain. That's a pretty clear-cut distinction between the two of them. We'll tweak it a little bit. Punisher, anti-hero. Punisher could face Batman. When he faces Batman, from Batman's viewpoint, he is a villain. If he faces against the Joker's viewpoint, well, the Joker's viewpoint, he could be a candy cane. But in that level, Joker is the villain to the hero that is the Punisher. Anti-heroes are always popular. They're normally not the number one most popular character, but they're always popular characters. There's also not that many. That's a very hard thing to pull off. In the world of professional wrestling, that's why you have tweener. Tweener, very hard to pull off. It requires a certain amount of character development. And normally your tweener tends to be what is classified as a loner badass. Stone Cold Steve Austin could very easily pull off tweener. Why? He was the loner badass. It's hard to be tweener in a group. The Shield did it. Why? Because you had multiple people who could pull off the loner badass persona, and they put them in a group. For a long time, who would they beat on? They beat on faces. Then after a while, who they beat on? They beat on heels. Sometimes they beat on both. But there's always a clear distinction. Either they were the bad guys or they were the good guys. There was enough talent and character development that they were like, we are here to enforce justice. That's it. We are the shield of justice. Justice for what? Keeping the belt safe. Great. Keeping the belt out of the hands of the wrong person. Perfect. They were the shield of a concept that's difficult to fully define in the world of professional wrestling. So it allowed them to have that gray area. To attack somebody who didn't deserve the match. To attack somebody who was just in their way. It worked. And it worked because you had three talented individuals who were given enough mic time, proper amount of development, and it all made sense. Look at the Divas Revolution. If you look at the division, Paige was proud to be as the face. Paige was pretty much the only one who was consistently face. And when you're the only face, you really can't have any tweeners because if you're the only face, you also can't be a tweener because there's no other faces to go against. She was the only person who was cast as the good girl, quote unquote. Everyone else was a heel. And then bring in some other women, okay? The Bellas. So they're heels. I don't get why they try to cast them in the tweener role. They're heels. You have three groups. PCB, very easy to say, they're the faces. Led by Paige, face. Becky, face. Charlotte, the blood of an amazing heel flows through her veins, but she's currently cast in the role of face. They're using the legacy, even though it's a heel legacy. There's enough respect for it that it's easy to have her become a face. They booked Bella as tweener. I don't know how often they've used twin magic or other sort of heel trickery to win matches, retain championships. But that's not tweener. There's a lot of rule breaking and rule bending. And doing all the things that heels do. I'm trying to think of all the heel things that Naomi has done. She attacks somebody from behind. Said mean things. But also wanted to do battle with the Bellas. But instead, Team Bad gets cast as heels. Even though they've got one of the most over female wrestlers in Sasha Banks. Sasha, who can play the role of a heel, can work a face style. She's a very solid tweener. But instead, had they just went PCB, here's your face team, here's your law-abiding group, here's the group that, they are the paragons, they are the virtuous, they are the ones that are trying to right the ship because it is the right thing to do, and there's way too much corruption and things have gone too far off track. It's no longer wrestling, it's a Jerry Springer episode. They're the ones who want to bring it to wrestling. The heels would be the Bellas. The Bellas do not want to see anything change. They want to stay in power. And they will do whatever it takes to stay in power. That's a very simple thing. And it makes promos easy. Then when you say, wins and losses don't matter, you're not saying it in a vacuum. It's very easy. Wins and losses don't matter. It's better to say, you won a battle, you haven't won the war. And then hold the championship up. Now all of a sudden, the battles themselves have meaning. But the battles only help if you win the war. Not win-loss, doesn't matter. Then nothing matters. But if you're cast directly as the heel, saying, so you guys won a match, big deal, I'm still champ. It's a lot easier than, well, I'm talking to you now, so now I'm in a heel persona, but I'm facing Team Bad. I'm going to try to wrestle face, even though if I'm taking on Sasha Banks, she's going to be over. Where Team Bad was already cast in the tweener role. Naomi did not want to side with Paige, but hated the Bellas. That's tweener. I don't want to work with the face, but I don't like the heels either. How is it that difficult to cast these three groups into the three primary roles that you have in the world of professional wrestling? Face, tweener, heel. Instead, well, this group is your face, so they got 1 out of 3 right. 33%. That's pretty good odds for the E. It's even better odds for the E's doing anything with the Divas division. I just finished watching the NXT thing where Regal made the announcement of the main event of the next NXT TakeOver event. And it's Sasha and it's Bayley. It's an Iron Woman match. 30 minutes. It's the main event. And dang it, I almost cried. And I knew about the announcement. But we're doing a Divas Revolution. Yep, it's happening in Florida. Well, it's happened for a long time in Florida with TNA. And it happened a lot in Berwyn, Illinois with Shimmer. There's the push for that. And when they brought those 3 women, I'm like, all right, here we go. We get better matches. We get 2, occasionally 3. So we're taking baby steps. But A revolution means there has to be meaningful, direct change. In order to truly have a revolution, the ones who would be fighting to stay in direct power would be the direct opposition. Because you've got the people who don't want anything to change. Revolution without change doesn't really do anything. We'll look at, American history. American Revolution. Americans were the good guys, bad guys. From American standpoint, we were the good guys. We used guerrilla tactics. We didn't have a good standing army. So we did things that would be considered heelish, but great intentions. We tried to do what we could. Who were you having a revolution against? England. Okay? So, for the people who wanted change, America was the good guys, England was the bad guys. For the people who didn't want change, which would be England was good guys, we, Americans, were the bad guys. Wouldn't it kind of almost make sense that the people who did not want to see Divas Wrestling change, because the moment it changes, the power structure shifts. Why? Because you can't have change unless you change. You can't have meaningful change unless the power structure is shifted. If the Divas belt is the symbol of the power, then the Bellas have to lose it for there to be change. Or else it's just, we brought in some people and the matches are a little bit longer. But everything else has stayed the same. Then you've had a diva augmentation. Nothing's been done. All the pieces are relatively the same. You're just using them differently. In order for this to have been an actual successful piece, things needed to have changed. We get some promos that sometimes are decent, sometimes are absolutely horrible. That Miz TV segment with PCB, horrible. Pretty much anytime Nikki's had a mic in front of her, pretty horrible. Looking back where we were a year ago. Ready for this? Ready for this? Ready for this? What are we getting close to? Was it Hell in a Cell? It's Hell in a Cell, right? That was when that's when we had Nikki and Brie. Remember the Nikki and Brie feud? Remember the I wish you had died in the womb feud? Well, led up to SummerSlam last year. Man, it seemed like it was this huge main event push as Stephanie and Brie had a match. And the match had a tremendous amount of build-up. And Brie went in there super face. Stephanie, super heel. Crowd knew exactly what to do with it. Nikki turns on her sister, fully aligning herself as a heel. Attacks her sister. Sister loses this giant revenge match. Hell in a Cell. They have their match. Winner turns the other one into a slave. Wow. If there's never a more definitive, one is a heel, one is a face. We then go through 30 days. 30 days of Nikki treating her sister like garbage. Did the crowd really feel for Brie? Yep. Very simple face-heel dichotomy. AJ taking on Nikki. Alright. Brie kisses AJ. Brie then aligns herself with Nikki, even though Nikki treated her like garbage. And that storyline had zero resolution. It was entirely forgotten. At an interview, there was one of the Wizard World ones, somebody asked the Bellas, what about this? And she was like, it just got dropped. They more or less came in, and first they were like, great, I'm the champion, I'm going to feud with you, They came on that, oh yeah, you're together again. Why? Alright, there's a start of your historic title reign. Because, alignment doesn't matter. That's why everyone loves the Big Show. Is he face? I don't know. Is he heel? I don't know. He can change whatever he needs to. Consistency? Yeah, we don't need that. Nah. So, but then they feuded with AJ. AJ, who was over, who was in the face position because the Bellas were heels. We're going to roll all the way towards WrestleMania. WrestleMania. The Bellas are in the heel position, taking on AJ and Paige. Okay? So Bellas were... So Nikki at least was heel from SummerSlam all the way to WrestleMania. Was cast predominantly in the heel role. And you know what? She's a good heel. She has the cockiness. She has the arrogance. They should book her slightly differently. She shouldn't be the absolute most dominant woman. She shouldn't be booked as Lesnar. But they want to book her as Lesnar, fine. Just give her a female Paul Heyman. If they would have kept Lana heel, had Lana been the mouthpiece for Team Bella, would have been awesome. The female Paul Heyman with like a female Paul Heyman-esque group. That would just printed money. And then all of a sudden they bring in the NXT women. And now she flops back and forth. Oh, it's a non-title match? Who am I facing? Okay, I'll wrestle this fight in face mode. And probably lose. Oh, it's a title match? Yeah. I'm going to wrestle heel, and I'll cheat to win. Why not just wrestle heel? There's not enough character development. All of the backstory for the Bellas is heel. It's heel. Go back even farther when they had Karma. The Bellas were Mean Girl heels. Minus Will Keith, what they're good at. Mean Girl heels. If you're going to have me face for a reason. Have them be fighting against somebody that is a very dominant force. You can't really be the face when you are the absolute dominant force. It's like, yes, we have the title. We lead the division. We are the most dominant force. Oh, and by the way, we're the faces of the division. No. Doesn't quite work that way. Because you know what's really great? Faces are great for chasing. Faces are not great for holding on titles for very long periods of time. CM Punk, during his historic title reign, started as a face. But while he was a face, he wasn't booked super, super strong. He was booked well, but he still lost a lot of matches. He wasn't booked super dominant. Why? Super dominant face is boring. Look at John Cena. John Cena, as the face of the company, if he holds the team for a long period of time, the matches are very dull. Very, very formulaic. John's going to get a beatdown. John's come back in the last few minutes, hit an AA, get a 3 count. His matches are very, very dull when he is the top guy and he's holding the belt. Now all of a sudden he's the top guy holding the middle belt, and all of a sudden now his matches are a lot more important because he could lose the title because it's the mid card. Hey, change his position, make him interesting. There is no other belts for the Divas division. The Bellas had pushed for a tag belt, which, to be honest, I think a Divas tag belts could be interesting. If you were to have the Team Bella holding all the titles, that would be interesting. Because all of a sudden instead of doing your 3-on-3-on-3 matches, you could do your triple threat for one belt, triple threat tag for the other. You could make it really interesting with having just a couple more belts added to the mix, which they're probably never going to do. So, a lot of great potential. The fact that they brought them in, like, we're here for change. Okay, what does change mean? Going to Battleground. Great, nice triple threat match. Bella's lost. So what does that mean? Next night on Raw. Alright, so the Bella's lost. So what does that mean? SmackDown. A not NXT person loses. Okay, so what does that mean? We're having some decent matches, but if they're fighting for supremacy, what is the target of supremacy? Later. Oh, it's the title. Okay. The title is now the most important thing with 2 weeks before someone breaks a record. Okay. So for her first title defense since the Revolution, which Cole keeps on saying the Bellas wanted, but they don't, because they wanted competition, but everything I brought up is no competition for them. But they've lost all these matches, but wins and losses don't matter. So it was just booked absolutely horribly. And then we finally get a match. Charlotte and Nikki do not have fantastic chemistry. This match is this tremendously huge women's match. But it's coming off the minds for a lot of wrestling fans. The last really great women's match they saw was Bayley Banks at TakeOver. And that match was practically perfect. Those two went out there, and you know what that match was about? It was about the title. And doing whatever it took to maintain that. To maintain, you walk in with the belt, do whatever you gotta do to walk out with that belt. And what was the match we had on Raw? Walking into it, you were about 95% sure there was going to be a screwjob finish. So when it happened, you were like, oh, wait, her last major title defense, if you don't count Beast in the East, isn't that what they did with Paige? Didn't Paige get like a roll-up victory on Brie, and then Brie threw out the stuffing? Wasn't that like her last major title defense unless you woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning? Could they not think of a better way to end this? Could they think of nothing else that they could do in this match? Wouldn't Charlotte have focused on the surgically repaired leg of Nikki? Wouldn't Nikki have sold like a shin injury? Stayed outside the ring? You know, had done the whole like, I can't get back in the ring, I'm too injured. You know, roll back in to break the count. Have either, you know, Brie or Alicia make their way to grab to distract the other two, and have, you know, Nikki to sit down and be like, you know, my shin hurts, I'm injured, I can't continue this match. Because when they did ref stoppage, it's NXT that awards the title to. Well, if it's NXT, they would award the title to Charlotte. But she'd be outside the ring, and all of a sudden she couldn't get back in. Eats a count out. But eats a count out because she was dominated, and her leg, which is actually an actual injury, that's why she was out for a while, is why she loses. That's actually that's a decent sort of ending. It's a cop-out, but it's better than what we just saw, like, what? Well, it went over 2 months ago. Using that exact same ending again? And it's aggravating because NXT is doing a really good job. But there's a storm brewing. It's an all red everything storm. That stands the opportunity to make NXT suck until she goes to the main roster. And then NXT will get good again. Because the all red everything cloud will have passed. And then it will swell and take over the main Divas roster. And before I went to people that say, well, I hope Nikki's a great wrestler, She's a great WWE superstar. They're wildly popular, easily marketable. It's great. I understand there's a mainstream popularity for the company. That's how they want to make a lot of money. Get that. I understand it. It's fine. But if you're a wrestling fan, and what they're doing is putting somebody who is a great superstar on top, give them all the accolade. Because in the Divas division, there are two things you can do. One, be a long-reigning champion. Two, hold the belt multiple times. I'm pretty sure, since Nikki is the longest-reigning champion, and a two-time champion, she wins it one more time, she'd be a three-time champion, which were in the same range as Eve Torres, AJ. Paige won a victory from being there as well. So you'd have 4 women held that belt 3 times. So it does seem like Paige will probably win the belt multiple times. If there were to be more accolades in the division, I think you could see a lot more diversity. I joked about they should do a Queen of the Ring. They should do an event where, guess what, you do a single elimination female tournament. The winner of that tournament becomes the #1 contender for the belt at SummerSlam, Survivor Series, Royal Rumble. Pick an event. You do a network special. That can be what catapults somebody into at least a main event Divas spot. Why didn't they do a Divas Money in the Bank? Divas Money in the Bank would give them a tremendous amount of leeway. Because could you imagine if they would have done if they would have actually done what they did with Nikki? You know, she's like, oh, it doesn't matter. And then someone else's music hit, they can walk out with a briefcase, and all of a sudden now, you have Team PCB do a wicked beatdown on the Bella Army, or Clan Bella, roll Nikki into the ring, person, blast her with the briefcase, cashes in the briefcase, 1, 2, 3, be like, sorry Charlotte, you didn't get the job done, but Emma does, or whoever. You know, and you could then do a ladder match with the women. There's finally enough now to do a elimination chamber match. You know, if they wanted to really build up this massive historic run, do something historical. Elimination chamber, they made a big deal about having a tag team chamber match, intercontinental chamber match. What if Nikki had defended that belt in a chamber match? Think about that, would be one of the first times we would have seen divas in that match. That would have made her, you know, all of a sudden she'd have been the one who would have beaten. Yeah. And they could have even had, and it could have been, you know, Alicia Fox, Brie, and Nikki. And then you could have put in Naomi, Paige, whoever else you wanted to put in for a 6th. And you know what happens? You've got the Bella Army already in there. The Bella Army's got their spots all secured. That means they know that their job is to make sure Nikki walks out with that title. It writes itself. Now all of a sudden, Naomi and Paige have to work together because they know if they don't defeat the other two, they will never get a pin on Nikki. Boom. Now, throw Tamina in that. You trying to tell me that Tamina hit a Samoan drop on someone on the outside of that cage? Would not have made people go, wow, these girls seem legit. And then that's when you throw in the other 3, knowing that those 6 had already had an absolutely hellacious match to try to get that belt off Nikki, and they couldn't do it. Or then a story where it's really tough to do because you need to have them in Florida. Have Paige talk about how no one wants to help her? Fine, cool. Do a couple vignettes of Paige down NXT. Show them on NXT. Show them on Raw. Have her bring in a couple people. And then next week, you know what you do? That's when Sasha Banks show up. Because if it's 3, Paige brings up Charlotte and Becky. It's 3-on-3. And all of a sudden Naomi and Tamina are short one person. They bring in Sasha. It feels nice. It feels organic. you've already established that these six, your core six, they don't get along well enough to do anything to take that belt off Nikki. Nikki is the establishment, she is the heel. Team Bad, they are your tweeners. They don't like Paige, but they can't stand the Bellas. And as I said, when you bring in Sasha, she has respect for Charlotte and Becky, but she doesn't like them. That's it. You've got enough background story. You've extended your little bit by 1 week, because you didn't have them all show up at one time. The story feels organic. It feels good. You pre-established that that Paige, Naomi, and Tamina, working independently, can't defeat the Bellas. So they bring in more. Done. There you go. Now all of a sudden you've got enough stories that make sense. Have Nikki defend her title. I probably would have said one more time. If she would have defended it, like if she would have defended it like I would have loved to have seen her had a title match at SummerSlam, but then that would have ruined the bizarre 9-woman match that they did instead. Or they could have done that as an elimination tag. You know, Nikki sits out. You have a team captain set up from each of the other teams. And then you go, the last team left standing. Your captain, quote unquote, takes on Nikki. So then you have your 2 Divas matches at the pay-per-view. And if you wanted to, you could then do, and since your team won, you get to beat the clock challenge. Had they said that before SummerSlam, now all of a sudden that match has got a purpose. If you win it that night, you get a shot at Nikki. You shot at Nikki on that night. And you get a shot at Nikki later. Now all of a sudden, if the Bellas happen to lose that match, Nikki's defending her title twice. Now all of a sudden that match is important and makes the title important. But instead it was, alright, you won that match. Yep. Week later, the Beat the Clock Challenge. Would you say that before? Because that would have made that match a lot more important. It would have made the way they were fighting mean something. Oh, so we're fighting for a shot at the belt. 6 days after she becomes a historic champion. So, I know I kind of veered off from the you need faces, you need heels. Unless you have very dynamic characters. During the Attitude Era, you had that. Everyone had a very specific character. Now that there's more time, there's less character development because you gotta do recaps. People are on Twitter. And if you want to go from the 3-way standpoint, you've got face, you've got tweener, you've got heel. But you need to pick the people who actually work in those roles.